Can we put all the buttons on the side now? Since there's so much more space?
You probably can. I generally have all the buttons over there. I think it switched it to where I don't now. Oops. No, that's not what. What's that? I was trying to do. So, for some reason, I don't know why, but exhaustion, like, isn't an effect.
Yeah, I saw that.
Which is the reason why I kind of, like, didn't give it to you, because I thought that there was. Anyways, I don't know. Lighting. This. Oh my god, wait. Does it actually
my screen
change?
just go blue? Now it's red.
I am changing the lighting. This new.
It's green.
That's kind of cool. I can actually change
Interesting.
the lighting to fit with the freaking time. Huh. Well, we pretty much got to roll it back like a couple days for you guys.
Casswan, you were born on Midsummer?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. How ironic.
I forgot to put my chickens up. Oh no.
Ring bell on turn. Off. Show turn order. Off.
You could ring a bell. It makes us go. Did you just say that you need to ring it back a couple of days? Have they been gone a couple of days searching for Cassron?
No. I'm talking about the fact that whenever you guys did the split and I continued on with the wolf, it's been a few days for them.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah. Let's just put it this way. You two are probably on your own dealing with the Red Eagles right now.
Yay!
So, yeah.
I missed that session too, so I don't even know anything about the Red Eagles.
Well, you guys don't really know much about the Red Eagles in general.
Oh.
It was more like the Wolf Princess Kari was just like, yo, I need help with one of these two things. And you guys were just like, we can help with both. It's like, cool. I'm sorry, I was trying to figure out... I'm like... freaking confused. I don't remember... For some reason, out of nowhere, all the buttons look different now, and now I'm confused about what buttons do what. No, not exactly that. I'm confused about what I need to click to add more of the buttons onto the side, because I used to have all of the buttons there, and now I don't. And I'm trying to figure
couldn't find that section either.
I could have sworn
I can't either. Library. It was library.
Don't know.
Maybe they just got rid of a lot of buttons? Question mark.
Maybe. They just expect you to click on the book you need now.
They even changed the way that the library works. It's now it has pages instead of scrolling. That's weird.
They added the new Unearthed Arcana stuff
Hey. Oh, I actually want to check.
because I can now click Kobold and Gem Dragonborn.
Holy shit.
Oh, hell yeah.
That is. Oh, they added in the fairy race as well. Whoa, they added in a bunch of races with this.
Oh yeah.
The Damphir, the freaking fairy, all the Dragonborns, the Rabbit folk, the
Owl
Owl
folk.
folk. What the hell?
Well, I know what character I'm making next.
Oh, they even added in the Hexblood too. Man, they literally, everything that was in Unearthed Arcana right now, they freaking added in on this. Does that include all the spells too?
Probably.
Oh man, that's interesting. Yeah, they even added in the feats. Okay. Huh. Okay. I'm getting distracted. I need to focus.
Speaking of spells, I don't actually know how to get to those anymore.
I know, that's the reason why I was saying that I wanted to pull up the things, because the spells are gone.
That's something I kind of need to, like, prepare. Ah! I just added a new spell. It says new spell.
That's
Andrew, do you like my new spell?
no, sorry.
Oh.
Astron's looking pretty fucked up in the character sheet right now. Bitch slap of God.
Yes.
It's a first level spell.
I don't think that would be a first level spell. I actually kind of wanted to make a 9th level cleric spell. Homebrewed that was called the Bitch Smack of God.
Ha, there.
Do it. I want
And
it.
it's just like Smite, but being able to be cast at like a 9th level. And has like a 30-foot range.
Oh.
Found it.
Oh, did you? What was it under?
Go to options, then click sidebar.
What the fuck?
You're
Okay.
welcome.
Yeah, no, because that was kind of necessary. I mean, I don't really need the feats, classes, skills, backgrounds thing, but I kind of need the races just for reference as well as the fucking spells. The options is like the weird little like spiky Pokeball thing, and
Yeah.
the top like 8 bars.
I need spells. Skills. What are those?
Skills are like the investigation, animal handling, all that stuff. I don't really know why in the world you'd need a tab for that, but hey, I mean, it's there. Put it on there just because, I guess.
It just tells you what each of the skills do.
I guess so.
Huh.
Investigation. Okay. Now that spells are up, that's good. Okay. Do you guys remember where you left off?
I had just been found.
And we were following. No, we weren't following. We were going back to the town village to rest.
No.
We were going with the Wolf Princess to the camp with the Red Eagles.
Yeah.
No rest.
No rest for the wicked.
Correct.
Money don't grow on these trees. Anyways, alright, yeah. You guys were continuing with Kari to head south. It's slow going due to an exhausted bugbear being one of the 3 people that are heading that way. But it's all fine. At least you're not having to deal with what Castron has to deal with right now.
You have fun
Or
with that, Jester.
Castron, or really even actually the other 2 people either. I also feel a little bad for Eris and Elijah. So, yeah. Anyways. Yeah, you guys are kind of in the easiest. Anyways, not the point. Okay, so yeah, you guys are heading south. Following with Kari. It's slow going. Things suck. It's cold. You know, same old thing. Throughout the day of travel, there's not really much of anything that happens. You do see every once in a while coming in and out of your line of sight. There seems to be a winter wolf or 2 kind of following along with you guys, seeming to sort of be acting like an escort of sorts. The entire day, there's only a little bit of snow that's coming down. Not a whole lot. Definitely nothing like the day prior. And once night falls, it's pretty much just setting up camp. Luckily, Bond, you have the one gigantic tent that you guys all have, because after the Reaper's Breath incident, you guys only had one gigantic tent, which means the fact that Eris and Fate actually don't have tents. It was pretty interesting for them to find that out after they'd already been traveling for an entire day. But yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah, so you have a tent. A very large tent.
Yay.
Enough to fit your entire party, but now there's only 2 people that need to fit inside this tent. So feel free to frolic in all of your extra space.
I do so.
There's not really a whole lot that goes on for the entire day. You guys will have to sort of take turns dealing with watches. Unfortunately, you don't have your pretty much immortal guardian in the form of the Great Wolf with you at this point in time. You guys can decide what watches. Kari will just take the watch that you guys don't do.
I'll probably take first so I can let Bond sleep.
Okay.
Sounds good.
So
Force
you
Bond to be
guys,
the first one.
you guys set up. Unfortunately, you don't have Eris there, so no cooked meals. Stuck with cold, unfeeling rations.
That's okay.
And
Food is food.
Yeah, food is food. Bastion, you set up. Sitting in turret mode. Watching the area as you roll your
Wish I had a
perception.
turret mode. It'd be awesome.
I know, right? If I ever do a campaign that has guns in it, I'll let you have turret mode.
Deal.
You imagine yourself to be in a turret mode, and through this imagination, you're not really keeping too much of an eye on what is actually going on around you.
Let's just say I forgot I was watching, and I'm reading.
Yeah, pretty much. You start kind of thinking about some of the books that you've read, and some of the fantastical things that you've read in said books. giant metal birds that fly through the sky without flapping, and strange magic similar to alchemy. That's called science. It kind of boggles your mind about the entire thing. Science seems very close, though, to kind of what the dwarves do and the manufacturing of golems, though. So maybe it's not too far-fetched. Who knows? But it kind of brings you to thinking about the trilogy that you have, though you know that there's more books to it. Thinking about the Ocean Lord, as well as the... What in the hell just happened? Oh, I'm sorry. Something just told me that I needed to rate something, and I didn't want to do that. Okay, that threw me off. Yeah, talking about the Ocean Lord and Aqua Tehran, about the pirates that live around those waters and pretty much like rule over there as pretty much like a military might. The book itself is actually from partially the point of view of a half-elf by the name of Gil Valentino. Because I know I did not actually put the name in there. I pretty much just put an excerpt saying, name goes here.
Yep.
Yeah. And as you think about it, go ahead and put that name in there now. As you think about it, it actually brings to mind the fact that there is someone who has brought that name up before. Not Gil Valentino specifically, but the last name, the family name, Valentino. And you remember that it was actually... Oh, I'm sorry. It's not pulling up the name here. Why is it not pulling up the name here? There we go. It was actually, Keyleth, the High Elf, mage of Avengarde. And you seem to remember her mentioning the Valentinos as sort of distant relatives. Though reluctantly so. Apparently, around a year back, they had been asking her for assistance in dealing with an issue. And you kind of wonder if maybe it has something to do with the Ocean Lord. Though, this book was dated to having happened closer to around, like, 100 years ago, though. So, who knows? And as you think about this, your watch goes by, and suddenly you're just like, oh, I should probably wake up the next person.
I go wake up Kari.
Okay.
Very gently.
Very
With
gently.
fear in my eyes.
With that, okay. She gives you a strange look as she gets up and takes her place by the fire. Doesn't really say anything, just all business. No chill.
Yep. I go to sleep.
Okay. So. Bon, you are woken up for your watch at a later point in time. You feel a little startled. There is a couple winter wolves that are sort of like just sitting around you. Though it looks like as if they'd probably been conversing with Kari. They don't have any sort of hostility. There's more just the remembrance of a time past of about like 5 days ago being ambushed by winter wolves in the middle of the night. But Kari tells you the fact that there has been no sightings of Casseron, or even your friends that went to go look for Casseron. They seem to have headed north with the Great Wolf. The last that the Winter Wolves had heard from the Great Wolf is the fact that they were going to investigate either the Lady or the Ironhide tribe, one of the two. But after heading north, they had heard nothing further from the Great Wolf.
Understood. Hopefully they find them soon.
Wait, first. Wasn't the wind blowing south?
Yes, it was.
Interesting.
Yeah, so after doing so, Kari does inform you the fact that there wasn't really anything that was actually happening. It was just the Winter Wolves coming to give a bit of a report, though probably the last report that you'll actually get from the Great Wolf, seeing as, for whatever reason, they seem to have been heading north under some sort of idea or clue that either the Lady or the Ironhide had something to do with Castron disappearing.
Makes sense. So I'll go ahead and take my watch.
All right. With that said, go ahead and roll your perception. Unfortunately, still with disadvantage. Each long rest only gets rid of 1 point of exhaustion. You had 2.
Correct. So that's an 11.
Yep. You still feel tired, obviously. Still have frostbite on you, things like that. It's probably going to take a decent amount of time for you to actually fully recover from, unfortunately, being stuck out in that storm. But at least you're in some sort of condition to actually deal with stuff. There's not really anything going on during the time in which you'd slept. It seems like as if the small amount of snow that was still coming down had fully died off. And while there does seem to still be a little bit of cloud coverage, it seems to be kind of thinning out as the night goes on. You're able to somewhat make out moonlight coming in between patches of the clouds every once in a while. And with that light, you kind of can somewhat get a bit of a view out from beyond the firelight at little intervals. You can see snowy hills that are slowly building up into what looks like a very large mountain area. The mountain itself is probably still a couple days travel out from where you guys currently are. If you had not been able to get enough rest to actually get rid of one of your points of exhaustion, it probably would have been closer to 4 days worth of travel instead of just a couple more. But throughout the rest of your watch, as the moon sets and the sun starts to rise, nothing really untoward actually happens to you guys. The Winter Wolves do kind of make an appearance every once in a while, as if they're kind of watching, but as the night drags on into morning, that happens more and more rarely, seeming as if they're sort of going off doing their own things now that they've somewhat fulfilled their duty as the Great Wolf asked them. Finally, morning does fully hit. There's still a bit of cloud coverage in the sky, but luckily it looks as if the wind, snow, and everything like that has died down. Just a stray storm in the middle of this winter area. Kari goes ahead and wakes up without you really having to do anything. And she kind of does some light stretches, takes a quick look around before giving you a nod. She kind of heads off for a moment. With a spear in hand, you have a feeling that she's probably going to hunt something in order to actually eat.
Yep, and while she does that, I'll go ahead and wake up Bastion.
Alright. Bastion, you wake up to snow, fire, Clear skies. Slightly less cold weather than normal, though still well below 0.
Oh,
Yeah. Kinda sucks.
I hop right up. Oh, good morning.
Morning.
And again, I do apologize. I had never been forced to endure a storm like that and just didn't really know what to do.
Well, at least you made it back to town.
All thanks to you. If I hadn't, I would have been stuck in the, or if you weren't there, I would have been stuck in the storm as well.
It was definitely a rough one.
You feeling any better?
Still tired, but definitely can move a lot better now.
That's good. If you did still have pains, I could cast another spell, but I don't think I have anything to get rid of your exhaustion or your tiredness.
That's alright. We'll just travel on today, and hopefully I can get another good night's rest.
Hopefully.
If Bastion had been stuck out in the storm, he would have changed his typing from fire to ice. I don't know why I suddenly thought about that, but it just... You suddenly gained an Alolan form.
It's like that other ice Bastion unit that
Yeah.
never showed up.
Yeah. Kind of. Anyways. So. After you guys pretty much, for the most part, pack up, eat some rations and everything like that, Kari does come back with a bit of game in tow. She goes ahead and cooks some of it, kind of offers a little bit to well, more like to Vaughn. She looks a little confused about whether or not you actually eat Bastion.
Let me roll something really quick. Oh. I guess I get her stare. I was gonna say he just looks and waves, but... You know what? Yeah, that's what he does. She
Yeah.
probably looks puzzled as to whether I eat or not, and I just look at her and assume she's just wanting a wave, and I just wave at her and smile.
She slowly nods her head, looking even more confused.
He's an interesting one. You'll get used to him.
I see that. Bon, correct?
Yes.
I see that you're still suffering a bit from frostbite and hypothermia. Are you feeling better, though? More well for travel?
I feel as though I could travel pretty well today, unlike yesterday.
That's good. We're going to have to pick up the pace slightly in order to make up for lost time.
That shouldn't be too much of a problem.
Be wary for stray exiles. I'm not sure if you've been informed of the exiles, but there are people who have committed crimes or been dishonored and thrown out from their tribes. They tend to sort of flock around the outskirts of the lands of certain tribes, mostly the Red Eagles and the Ironhide, as well as a couple others. Since we're starting to near their actual territory, we might start running into said exile.
I guess I'll keep an eye out then.
She gives you a nod before starting to head out. Kicking snow over the campfire, she starts to head south. Not really actually paying attention to whether you guys are actually following. More just like, yep, time to go. And moving out.
How deep is the snow right now?
With where you guys are at, it's sort of a well-traveled road, so it's only probably about like 7 to 8 inches deep.
Cool. Just wondering if I was slowed by massive amounts of snow.
No, you guys are traveling on somewhat of an actual well-traveled road. Once you guys get further south, though, off of said roads and things like that, it's probably going to start to get much harder to move due to deeper snows and things like that. But for now, no issues with that.
I mean, with our boots, it shouldn't matter.
That is true. You guys do ignore difficult terrain caused by snow and ice.
Oh. Does that mean we walk on top of the snow no matter how heavy we are?
It's never actually been explained on that front.
Yeah, it doesn't exactly say whether or not.
I would assume that it would sort of act kind of like snowshoes, and the fact that it kind of maybe magically spreads out the weight, so that way you do walk at least somewhat on top of the snow. Like cleated snowshoes, things like that. Anyways, so you guys continue your expedition south. Go ahead and roll me perception check. Man, you are on top of those 5s today. Oh, there goes another 3 too.
I like 3s, apparently.
I know. Bastion, you're just kind of like looking around wide-eyed at everything. Pretty much all you've seen so far is just deep snow and strange trees and more snow, and then a snow-covered village, and then more snow. And now you're actually seeing somewhat of other things. You're seeing more like normal hills, small like little like glades and stuff like that of like trees and other things, as well as, and these trees actually look somewhat more normal, as well as the mountains, which are more to your style of things, being, from Avengarde and all that.
Yep.
The mountain itself is snow-capped and looks like as if it's like covered in snow all the way up and down. But it does catch your eye, the fact that there are what looks like birds that are circling around the higher peaks of the mountains. And at first it kind of throws you off because it's just like, oh man, those birds must be kind of close because they look small. But then it's just like, no, those birds are circling around like the peaks of these mountains, which means that they have to be
massive.
Very, very big. Very big. Go ahead and roll me a nature check. Either that or a history. Your choice.
I guess they both have a +2, so either one works.
Okay.
I forgot nature was an intelligence check.
Yeah. Through all the books and stuff that you've read, not really a whole lot actually go in depth of birds and things like that. A lot more of the books that you've read have to deal more with ores, rocks, some plants, animals that you might find in like forests and swamps and stuff like that. Ironically enough, even though Avengarde was built in a mountain, they don't really have to deal with much of the mountain critters as normally happen due to their system of teleportation to the base of the mountain into the city proper itself.
Does Bastion have like a anything to write with or anything like that?
So, do you have any sort of kits?
I don't believe so.
Then I don't think you have anything to write with.
I think I have like mentioned before, like I'm gonna write this down, but I don't think I actually have anything to write anything down with.
Yeah, I don't think you do.
Never mind then. I was gonna say Bastion writes down, get bird books.
Get bird books.
He also mutters under his breath, red eagles. With a question mark.
Red eagle. That makes sense. Yeah. Bon, you're more just like tired than anything else. You're focusing on putting one foot in front of the other at this point in time. But while you're doing so, you do notice the fact that there are, while you're not really paying attention to anything around you, you do notice the fact that there are like some animal tracks of what looks like deer and small game and stuff like that that are sort of around this. A lot more consistently than whenever you were actually traveling through the Rime Wood, possibly due to it being less dangerous, or maybe due to the strange fact in that your timing of coinciding of travel through the Rime Wood just happened to go right along with the time in which a blizzard dragon decided to for some reason drop by. Who knows? But you do notice the fact that there does seem to be a lot of game that's sort of wandering in and out of the copse of trees. Not a heavy enough amount of trees to really consider it being called a forest or anything like that, but enough to give rise to having birds and other such small wildlife kind of trolloping around in between the covers of them.
I'll make note of this for later in the evening.
Throughout the rest of the day, there's nothing really else of note. Bastion, as you're kind of watching the birds every once in a while, you do notice the fact that some of them, every once in a while, seem to like dive down towards something, disappearing out of sight at extremely fast speeds. Insanely fast speeds, in fact.
Like they dive into the snow?
They more like they dive out of line of sight, in between like peaks of the mountains and stuff like that. What they're doing, you're not 100% sure, but they dive downwards and then like disappear from sight for certain amounts of times. Some of them being longer than others. Some of them don't actually make a return. You've counted probably about a total of at least like 9 or 10 of them that are kind of consistently circling around the peaks of these mountains, at least in the space in which you can actually see. As the day goes by, though, and the sun starts to set, you do see the fact that the birds, one by one, seem to either nest or go to some sort of place to rest, as they all seem to disappear from circling around the peaks of these mountains over the course of the sun setting. And Kari leads you to another place in which to set up camp. And once you guys are starting to do that, she mentions that she's going to do a little bit of hunting and disappears off into some of the low brush and things like that that are around here, sticking out of the snow.
Deal. I will help Bon set up stuff since his skills are halved at the moment, and then probably just sit and read till Kari gets back or attempt to make a fire.
Okay.
Yep, help make up camp and get fire started and whatnot.
All right. Go ahead and roll me another perception check.
I think this is the first character I've made without good perception, and it's not fun.
Unnatural 0.
Unnatural 0.
Oh no.
Man, that book's really good.
Yeah, I was about to say, you start, after the fires get started, you start reading your books. Bon, you felt like as if something was watching you for a moment, and as you turn around, you look, and there was, like, a couple of small rabbits that were kind of, like, staring at you from in between some bushes, and then after they notice your stare, they seem to disappear back into the bushes, seeming like as if they were, scared by your notice. But after that, there doesn't seem to really be anything else. But you do feel like as if there was something off for a moment there. But what it was, you couldn't exactly tell. So the next about hour, the sun finally fully sets, and a little worry starts to come into play as Kari is actually still not returned at this point in time. And it's been around an hour and a half almost.
How long was she hunting the day before?
The day before, she was only gone for about 45 minutes.
I was about to say something, but I forgot. I don't even notice. I am entranced by my book.
Yeah.
With this much time passing, I'd go ahead and look over to Bastion. Do you think we should go take a look and see if she's coming back yet?
Oh, my bad. How long has it been?
Almost an hour and a half.
Does seem like a bit more time than it was yesterday. We should probably investigate.
I'll try my best.
Okay. Go ahead and roll me a couple of... either roll me investigation, survival, or perception.
You said a couple, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice. All right, so you guys spend about 10 minutes looking around, kind of following some trails, going through in the direction in which Kari had headed off in. During this point in time, Bastion, you don't notice like any sort of blood or anything like that, which at first kind of is like a relief, and then you realize the fact that if there was no blood, that means that Kari probably actually never hunted anything. Which could mean one of two things. Either she went off somewhere without telling you guys, or she was grabbed by something. So you don't know which one it is really at this point in time. Along with that, though, you also do notice the fact that there looked like as if there was strange markings on some of the trees, like as if some of the bark was scraped off. For what it was, you're not 100% sure, but you know the fact that it wasn't caused by any sort of claw marks or anything like that. It looked like as if it had been like peeled off using a tool or knife. It was too clean of a cut. Bon, you follow the tracks. You're pretty much leading Bastion along on Kari's tracks of actually going through this. You do sort of notice the fact that it doesn't seem like as if anything was hunted. But in addition to that, you also do notice the fact that there are other sets of footprints. Not animal tracks, but actual footprints. Somebody else was out here, and it was a group of at least probably about 6 people.
This isn't looking good so far yet, Bastion.
What does throw you off is the fact that it looks the tracks look a little strange because they're obviously not made by animals, but they weren't made by booted feet either. They seemed like as if they were barefoot, and they sort of left like these strange claw marks. I need you to roll me a history check to see if you can remember what might leave these sort of tracks.
Can I roll 2 if he pointed them out?
Yes. Oof.
Oh.
You can identify the fact that at least 2 of the 6 people look like as if they were probably kobolds, but the other 4 you can't really tell. It wasn't something human. But that's really all you can get from it.
Wonder what kobolds are doing up this far north.
Do the tracks like intersect in a way that looks more violent in nature, like a scuffle may have happened, or are they just walking in the same direction?
With your investigation, as well as looking at that, you can see the fact that after having these tracks pointed out, it looks like as if they were waiting in ambush, sort of around where these marked trees were at, possibly even in the trees themselves. But they all kind of went towards this area where you can see there's a large divot in the snow. That was a little hard to tell originally. It looks like as if it's been partially covered up, like as if they were covering their tracks. From there, though, the tracks seem to disappear. You only see the footprints going towards this small divot into the snow, and then there are no tracks leading away from it.
Bond, do we have a map of the area? Do you know if we're near any kind of settlements or anything like that?
I don't believe we've gotten a map.
I think I have a map.
This whole trip just hasn't been very good, has it?
We've not had a lot of luck.
So, what should we do? What direction did we head? Or have we been traveling?
You guys were heading you guys were heading towards the west. It was sort of a somewhat southwesterly direction. It's somewhat in the same direction you guys have been traveling this entire time so far. Unfortunately, at this point in time, it has been full sundown, and there is very little light for you guys to work with at this point in time. In order to really have a good look at things, you'll probably need some sort of light source. There is a bit of moonlight to work with, but due to the trees, it makes it a little bit difficult for you to actually make things out, even with dark vision.
Oh, that's not a problem necessarily. I could just cast light on something.
Yeah.
So, Bon, what would you like to do? Continue investigating or go to sleep?
I mean, we are here to protect her, so we should probably go and find her.
Oh, I didn't know that was our job description. Okay. I find sticks or something like that I can cast a light on.
All right. Not too hard. There's underbrush, leaves, small branches, things like that. They don't seem like as if they're afflicted by whatever the heck is going on with the rime wood. They are sort of like a paler color than normal trees, but they're not to where they're like that kind of like icy, silvery blue kind of color that the Rimewood bark is.
Yeah.
Yeah, you easily find one. You cast light on it. Let there be torch in the shape of magic. It lights up the area. Roll me an additional perception check. You both seem like feel like as if you heard something. It seemed to have been a little bit more towards the south. Bon, it sounded sort of like as if like the scrabbling of claws on wood. You have a feeling like as if it was too loud of a sound to be a small animal, such as like a squirrel or something like that.
Sounds like there's something a little bit bigger than what we've been seeing as of late to the south of us.
We should investigate.
All right. So, you do so.
I'm not the stealthy type, so I could wait here while you sneak up and try and get a look.
I can attempt that.
Yeah.
Go ahead and try to quietly make my way towards the sound.
Go ahead and roll me. In addition to stealth, go ahead and roll me another perception. Okay. So, you're trying to use. I imagine you're not bringing like a stick with light on it along with you.
No.
So you're kind of going in between like the bushes and the trees as you can. It's a lot more sparse than a forest, so it's a little bit more difficult. The cover of night is really all you really have going for you and assisting you with this at this point. And you're trying to keep an eye out, more of an ear really than anything else, for what in the world is what in the world exactly is going on in this. You're not really sure what it is that you might be having to deal with. And as you're getting closer to the area in which you heard the sound, you hear a soft hissing sound, like a. And it seems like as if it's coming from directly above you.
I'll go ahead and pause and take a look up.
As you do so, in the light, you can see what looks like these kind of like silvery gray eyes with a sort of like inner glow seeming to stare at you from above. They seem to be of a kind of smaller creature than the size of a human, but far too large to really be like a small beast such as a squirrel either. You can't really make it out due to the darkness of the leaves that are kind of partially covering it up. But it is definitely staring directly at you. And besides that hiss, there is no other sound from it.
Well, if it's not moving to attack me, I'll go ahead and keep looking for what else was around this area.
All right. So you decide to ignore it, and you continue moving further west, kind of southwest more, actually, in the direction of which you heard the sound. And after another probably about like minute of slowly moving through the sparse amounts of vegetation that you can to try and keep yourself hidden, you hear a small snap beneath your foot, and it catches you off guard as it didn't really sound like as if it was a branch. And as you look down, I need you to roll me a dexterity save. You look down, you see that something seems to start launching upwards out of the snow, and you take like a cartwheeling step backwards out of the area. And where you were just standing before, you hear several more snaps coming from different parts of the trees in the area that you are in, and they all converge together to make a net that would have been containing you had you not been able to step out of the way. And once again, you hear that hissing sound, except for this time it sounds a bit more frustrated. And then you hear the scrabbling of claws that seem to be going around the trees, but you hear it coming from all around you at this point in time.
From what I have heard, the net thingy.
With how far away he was, I would say you wouldn't really have heard it, but you might have. Well, yeah, no, Asmar have dark vision, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. You probably would have seen like the shadow of something happening, but you wouldn't have really heard it. It was more just like a soft like snap of a rope snapping. You might have heard. Go ahead and roll me a perception with advantage for this one. Yeah. While you didn't hear the snapping of the rope, you did hear what sounded like as if the tearing of bark from the trees. And it did not sound natural in the slightest to you. It sounded literally like as if the bark was snapped off.
Hearing that, I'd probably briskly walk in that direction with my sword out.
All right. As you do so, you do see what looks like the shadow of a creature not quite as large as Bon, but not really on the small side either. Probably standing somewhere larger than 6 foot, but not as tall as Bon is. Which I think, Bon, you're like 7 foot something. They seem to take like kind of cover behind one of the trees, sort of staring in the direction that you know Bon is in. They don't seem to notice you at first. I'm imagining you probably still have the light.
Yeah.
Yeah, as the light sort of starts to come down upon them, you see the fact that they seem to be wearing a mixture of what looks like metal armor and fur. And as the light sort of starts to touch them, they look back towards you, and you see a horned and scaled face. And it dawns on you the fact that what you are looking at is a dragonborn. The scales are a pure silver. It starts to mutter to you, sort of on the quiet side. something in, well, I guess Bond just answered for that for me. Something in Draconic. You've heard Iris speak this, but you don't understand it. And it seems like as if it's trying to kind of like converse with you, and it has a hand on what looks like a greatsword on its back. Hasn't drawn it out, but it has its hand on it.
I don't make any move to approach. You just keep staring with sword out.
Okay. Bon, as you say that, there is sort of a motion in several of the tree's branches around you. Some leaves fall to the ground, and then you see the shadows of creatures dropping into the snow, and then like pretty much just completely disappearing into it. There was 4 in total that you counted. They drop down, but they don't do anything else. They literally disappear into the snow.
I'm going to raise my hands, trying to show that I mean no harm before saying this.
You hear a sort of hissing sound once more. And as you do, you feel a blade appear at your throat, and a gruff voice in Draconic saying, "Don't move." As that happens, the 4 creatures seem to like kind of barely, of no fault of their own, but barely poke their head out of the snow and make their way towards you. You do see this kind of happening, Bastion, out of the corner of your eye. You're not really close enough to really do anything to help at this point in time. You're around like 40 feet away, but this Dragonborn seems to kind of be looking between the group that is sort of holding your friend hostage at this point in time and you, before it slowly starts to like inch its way towards the group, and it calls out to them and Draconic once more. Bond, you hear them saying, well, not them. You hear him saying, "There's another one here, but but it doesn't seem hostile. We should probably think twice about what we're doing before being too rash." You see the blade at your throat sort of hesitate for a moment. My battery is dying. I'm sorry.
Oh no.
Yeah. You do see the blade at your throat hesitate for a moment before it sort of slowly backs away from you. But you hear the voice once more tell you, in Draconic, "Don't move. You have more than a dozen crossbows aimed at you." Oh, just a second. There we go. I charged my headset. Or at least attempt to. Okay. Ugh. There we go. Oh my god. Okay, this blanket is all sorts of in the way. Oh god. Don't break. Holy crap. Okay. Sorry.
You're fine.
So,
I'm just gonna
really?
hold my place until I'm told otherwise.
Orn, we've already had one trespasser within these lands, and we're already having to deal with these damned eagle fools. Are you sure it's not wise just to end them here? You know as well as I do, that is not the way of our people. We'll take them in, just like we did the other woman earlier. And we'll question them for what they're doing within these lands. And as long as they seem to have cause of no harm towards our people, then we should let them go. Vaughn, I want you to roll me a perception check real quick. Bastion, I want you to
Goodbye, 20.
Yeah, I want you to also roll me a perception check, but for you with advantage because of the fact that you have light. You notice on the one that has the great sword, there's a glimmer of silver light that seems to be around the upper chest area. And it takes you a moment to really get a good look at what this is. And after a moment, you're finally able to get a decent look at it. And it looks like as if it's a pair of eyes that's surrounded by 7 stars. Roll me a religion check. It takes you a moment to register exactly what it is that you're looking at, especially since you have no idea what in the world situation you're currently in. But after thinking about it for a moment, you realize that that is the symbol of Saloon, the goddess of the moon. And you know for a fact that Saloon is often seen as a kind, calm, and mostly gentle goddess. Her followers would not harm anybody without cause.
Deal. I don't
Vaughn-
know what they're saying though, so I don't know if I would do anything.
Yeah. Bon, as you say that, the two beings that are talking, you haven't really actually been able to get a good look at them. So you're not 100% sure what in the world it is actually that they are. They both pause for a moment. And then the one that had the blade to your throat, referred to as Orin, speaks out once more. This time in common. Seemingly like as if trying to talk to both of you, as they've sort of gotten the gist, the fact that Bastion, you have no idea what in the world they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying you're looking for the woman earlier, the one with the red hair?
Yes, we were supposed to be going with her. She went to go hunt for dinner tonight as we were making up camp.
For what reason are you in our lands?
She has dealings that she needs to go have a meeting with these Red Eagles. All we were doing is just going through this area. We weren't trying to go any harm.
More of these damned Red Eagles. Claiming land that isn't even their own.
I don't know much about the Red Eagles. I just know she needed to go talk to their leaders.
talk to their leaders. For what exactly, do you know?
They had sent an emissary to her to ask for her hand in some kind of marriage, but she needed to go and talk to the leaders to formally decline this.
Seems that would be more beneficial to us than anything else, so I see no reason to really stop you.
As you
Very
can
well.
tell, I'm not from this area, so I do not know proper borders or anything.
That much was apparent, Bugbear. We don't see much of your kind around here anymore, not since the Great Winter set in. Not fond of cold weather, your kind, at least not much.
Not usually, no.
Very well. The blade disappears from your throat. Bastion, you do see that this figure seems to, like, sheathe the short sword, and the Dragonborn that was standing before you sort of takes a more relaxed posture. Still gives you sort of a bit of a wary eye, but doesn't look like as if he's ready to, like, go ham at any moment now.
Yeah. I'd
Bond,
probably sheathe my sword and walk closer.
Yeah, Bond, you're finally able to take a bit of a more relaxed breath, and you're able to finally get a look at the people who just about captured you. And yes, the little ones in the snow that can barely actually poke their head above the snow's depths due to the fact that it is a couple feet tall. Those are kobolds, which all have silver or white scales. And then the two beings that were behind you, just out of sight, are both dragonborn. The one seemed to be being referred to as Orin is one with white scales, while the one that is yet unnamed has all silver scales. They both seem to have a mixture of what looks like pale white furs mixed in with metal armors as a sort of almost like hide / half plate armor kind of mixed together.
I'm actually going to take a minute, turn to the kobolds, bend down and say this.
I'm sorry to interject. I just wanted to say that the image of kobolds sticking their little heads out of the snow is adorable.
I know. I didn't think about it whenever I was about to say that they jumped off of the trees into the snow. I was just like, oh wait, but this snow is like 2 feet deep, and they're only like 2.5 feet tall, so they like can barely poke their heads out.
Which means the crossbows are under the snow too, I assume.
Well, I mean, they said
They're
that there was like a dozen crossbows chained on you, so there's more than just the kobolds that are around.
That makes more sense.
But yeah. But no, the kobolds did have crossbows, and so yeah, those crossbows are below the snow.
Sneak
Hidden
attack.
crossbows. Yes, exactly. You do see the fact that the kobolds kind of like look up at you a little curiously before they ignore you and they head over to the two dragonborns, and they kind of like nimbly climb up onto the shoulders of each one, and they just kind of like sit there. Almost like as if they're shoulder pads.
I will just shrug and stand back up.
Yeah.
And I will turn towards the Orin, I believe you is his name, and offer out my hand.
He sort of like hesitantly reaches his hand out. Oh, yeah, I forgot you foreigners like to do this weird hand-grabbing motion. Very well, let's get this over with. And he just like grabs your hand and sort of like awkwardly, like almost in a robot manner, just shakes it up and down before letting it go and like kind of like wiping it off, just like, ugh, never understand why you fools do that.
Actually, as he goes to grab my hand, I'll actually grab his forearm and shake.
You're even weirder than the rest. Okay, very well. He just kind of like repeats the same motion as well.
Bon, it's, I guess, nice to meet you, and thank you for not taking us down.
Yes. Thank Rengar for that. Now you, Metal Man, it looks like as if you had something to say. He looks towards you, Bastion.
I just had a question, if you don't mind.
Yes.
The followers of Saloon are generally less aggressive. I was just wondering as to what the reason was for you to be so wary of your borders at the moment.
You see the fact that all 6 scaly humanoids before you, the 4 kobolds and the 2 dragonborns, actually give you a bit of a look of appreciation. So you know of our fair lady?
Yes, of course.
Not many actually know of her, at least not that travel these lands. Yes, she is very motherly and subdued, majestic and joyous at times, but she also is fierce and aggressive, as well as cold, with little mercy to her enemies. If you were going to be enemies of ours, then we had no reason to show you mercy. But, as always, Saloon is first tranquil and embracing before she is merciless and aggressive. So we take these measures to sort of capture those who may very well be enemies and figure out their stance first. Sometimes that helps alleviate enemies from being born.
That makes more sense. Carry on.
You... The Orin, the Dragonborn Orin looks you over. You look sort of familiar. You're a... What are they called? The other Dragonborn Rengar. You're a Bastion unit, aren't you?
Bastion
yes,
smiles
that's what
and
it is.
shakes his head.
Oh, yes, the Bastion units. Creations of the followers of Moradin. Haven't seen one of you around in a while. There was that one frozen fellow who was making his rounds around here asking about the elemental hearts. But unfortunately, we had to turn him away. He got a little bit too aggressive for our liking.
Ask, do you know why he was asking about those things?
Something about repairing the Heart of Flame and returning the purifying flames of Moradin to these lands or something. I'm not 100% sure. He seemed a little fanatical, to be honest.
Do you know any information about that?
We care little for the Curse of Winter. We stand guard, following through with our duty to Saloon. Through winter, spring, summer, or fall, it matters little. We'll accomplish our duty no matter the cost. This eternal winter is more of a boon to us at this point than anything else, to be honest. It stays the curious wanderers who may happen across these lands. Some of them, at least. Kind of, like, looks towards you two.
Trust me, I wouldn't wander up here by choice.
That's what most say.
Although it is very gorgeous.
Still, you say that the red-haired woman is one of your compatriots.
That is correct.
Very well. Follow us. She's being transported back to our garrison. Questioning and all that. Once she's been processed and all of that, she'll be given due compensation for the inconvenience and then led about her way. So we'd best hurry before she gets fully separated from you all. She'll be kicked out of the lands before too long.
I follow.
Yep, follow along.
I would ask, do you guys not recognize her? Does she not come around a lot, or do you not know much about the people to your northeast?
We protect the sacred grounds of our fair lady, Saloon. The lands beyond the sacred grounds matter little to us. He pauses for a moment and looks to you. And then looks to you, Bon. Followers of Moradin, as well as Tyr and Ilmater. Yes, I do know of your gods as well. Would do little to harm Our Lady of Silver. Very well. Let me inform you a little bit of this land. You see this peak over here, and he points towards the southwest. It's one of the tallest mountain within this mountain range. And you can see in the moonlight, which actually strikes you as odd, as there is a bit of cloud coverage right now, and the moon technically isn't out, but yet somehow there's still a beam of moonlight hitting the top of this mountain. And in the vague distance, you can see what looks like as if at the very top of this mountain looks like a crescent moon on the very top of this mountain. That mountain is known as the Peak of Saloon. That entire mountain is considered sacred grounds. When we have an entire mountain to protect, we care little for what lies beyond it. Many caves and caverns wind its way through the mountain, and we have to protect it all.
Last question. Have your borders changed recently? I figured Kari would have known those borders and known not to camp where we were at or travel that far in. If she knew, I assume we would walk around it.
You see a sort of dour look across all of their faces before Rengar shakes his head. No, the borders have never changed. It's just been more difficult to enforce them as of the past around decade since these Red Eagle buffoons have moved in. They've been trying to take over this entire mountain range, and we've been doing all we can just to keep them at bay, to be honest.
They do seem to be quite a problem.
You don't know the half of it. They're assisted by... He looks actually towards you, Bastion. Strangely enough, another one of you. A bit different looking, though. More, how would it be said? Feminine, I guess? I don't know if there's feminine versions of you, but this one looked a lot more feminine in shape, slim, things like that. Even had a feminine voice.
Assisted how?
Due to you being new to these lands, I imagine that you've had little dealing with the tribes.
That is correct.
There are 4 major tribes within the eastern part of the country of Austria. There's the Bloodwolf tribe, the more passive of all of them. The Ironhide tribe, self-sufficient, somewhat aggressive though. There's the Wolfhide tribe, more wandering nomads than anything. They somewhat make their homes more in the central part of Austria, though they do tend to wander more towards this eastern side than the west. And then there is the Red Eagles. The newest of the four major tribes, and one that has risen to prominence only within the past decade. As you may see a coincidence with it, yes, since they've become a problem to us, is whenever they actually gained all this strength. Around that time is whenever we started seeing this feminine bastion unit wandering amongst their people, giving strange tools, weapons, and food, supplies, things like that, almost like as if they're trying to fund some sort of conflict. I have no idea what this person has to gain from this, but it's been a thorn on our side.
Well, I do apologize for all the questions. I mean no disrespect. Just trying to understand the situation.
It is fine. I have no problems answering your questions. Just I hope you could answer a couple of mine.
Certainly.
This woman, this red-haired woman, why would the Red Eagles want to marry her into their clan?
Well, I assume that doing so would somewhat bring the two tribes together or something like that.
That,
Stronger.
and she's known as the Wolf Princess.
Upon you saying the Wolf Princess, their eyes widen a bit. That makes a lot more sense. We've heard word of the Wolf Princess and the great wolf who follows her, but we've never actually set eyes on her, so this would make a lot more sense. Having a being such as the great wolf on your side would aid much in the war games that this Red Eagles seem to be playing at.
Yes, she just wants to protect her own village.
I doubt that's all. Do you know about the Great Wolf?
A little. I've heard a bit of stories and maybe what have happened to his one-time mate.
Oh, yes. The Great Wolf. As you know, all wolves pay homage to the moon. The Great Wolf is a servant of the Moon Maiden, Our Lady of Silver. Long ago, he used to patrol these lands and protect them. He probably finds it more difficult to do so in these times. The Scales of Saloon have lost much of their power ever since Avanos fell. Due to that, our strength within these lands has fallen greatly. It has fallen to him to pick up the slack on that which we cannot fill. He's probably found mortals such as this Wolf Princess and contracted them to protect certain areas. Most likely, instead of her wanting to protect that village, she might need to have to protect that village. Tell me, this village, does it lie on the border of the woods to our northeast?
It is pretty near the Rime Woods.
That village was once a site of pilgrimage on the way to the Peak of Saloon. There might be something hidden there, an artifact of sorts. Created by Saloon. Or maybe even some sort of ritualistic artifact that has been lost since then. Most likely, she's there to protect that rather than to protect the people there.
That might be true, and it sounds more and more like you and your two tribes would have more in common than with these Red Eagles.
Very much so. It would make more sense if that wasn't the case for her to just leave these lands to a safer area, such as where the supposed Blood Wolf tribe is, on the other side of the woods. I don't know how it escaped our notice, the fact that the Wolf Princess was so close to our borders, but it was only hearsay. After all, it's difficult for us to actually leave and scout out these lands anymore. Regardless, we're almost there. As he says that, he points ahead of him, and you can see the fact that you guys have been somewhat heading up some hills. The trees have been sort of like getting more and more sparse until there's not really any trees whatsoever. You're pretty much fully into uncovered moonlight at this point in time. The clouds seem almost to sort of like be barred from being over this mountain from the looks of it. You can see like patches of clouds here and there in the sky, but directly over this mountain there are no clouds that are surrounding it, and the moon beams directly down onto this place. As you get closer and closer to the actual true base of this mountain, you can see the fact that there seems to be a large cavernous sort of entrance, and in the moonlight you can see almost glowing seems to be what looks like in carved out of the stone are the 7 stars that make an archway entering into this. And the two of you being a lot closer to religion than a couple other people in your group, only one person possibly being more closer to religion, you feel a sort of calming ease fall over you, like as if you're in a safe area. Bastion, you would recognize this as consecrated ground. This is literally sacred ground that you are walking on right now. As you head further up the mountain to this cavernous entrance, you can see that flanking each side of it, there is another dragonborn of either silver or white scales, as well as several dragonborn that seem to be guarding the inside of this path. Kobolds are sort of like put in these little kill holes almost, where you can see crossbows that are glinting out of them. And the only reason you can even really tell that they're kobolds is because you hear the sort of hissing sound. They seem a little unease, ill at ease with your presence. There we go. That's the wording I was trying to think. It's very obvious the fact that they don't really like strangers. And it actually sort of puts them off even more, you feel, as they notice your holy and religious symbols that adorn your guys' bodies. You're pretty much representatives of different gods stepping into a different goddess's holy ground. And the people who follow this religion feel a little unsettled by this due to you not being invited. Formally, that is. You do see that Orin, as well as Rengar, and the few kobolds that are accompanying them. You never saw where the heck these other 6 beings that supposedly, 6 or so beings, at least, that had crossbows were at, but, yeah. Your little entourage, though, seems to be trying to somewhat put at ease the guards of this place. After walking fully in, no longer really having the light of the moon, at least the natural light of the moon, there are what seems like as if like these silvery patches of moss here and there that give off kind of like almost like moonlight from them instead, that sort of give light to different parts of this cave that you're entering in. And it seems to be getting wider and wider as you're moving in. And you finally open into this very cavernous like area where you can see a winding path that seems to go up in it, almost like a spiral staircase leading up the center of this mountain. At this point in time, it's probably about like 1 a.m. And Oren turns around with a bit of a grin on his face and gives a formal bow as he says, "Welcome to the caverns of Elune."
I'll just bow my head and thank him.
I said Elune. I meant Saloon. My bad. I need to get a drink, honestly. I'm starting to get a little parched.
You're fine.
Yeah. He gives a bit of a smile before he motions for you to follow. Your friend should still be here. If you ever wish to come back to these lands to find a bit of respite, I'd be more than happy to welcome you, but you'd have to do a little work for us. Nothing bloody or anything like that. No fighting, no hunting or anything like that, but just a little bit of farm work, sort of a payment for giving you services rendered. Things like that.
By the way, what I'm going to type in here, I would have said this before we got to the top of when he spoke to us about the caverns.
Oh, okay.
I was just trying to recall the name.
Oh, okay. Yeah, as you say that, you do feel like as if the silvery moss that sort of gives light seems to glow brighter for a moment, and then dims, and then it glows brighter for a moment, and then dims, and then goes back to its normal soft glow. And you see Rengar give a bit of a smile. Seems like as if Saloon has heard your prayer, whatever it is that you may have said to her.
I was just thanking her for her passage through her lands.
A wise thing to do. Tell me, what is a follower of Tyr doing so far north? Last we heard, as long though it may have been centuries ago, your kind were more towards the far south or eastern lands rather than so far up north.
Yes, my original clan is back on a different continent even. I joined a monastery. I've always been a bit different than my clan, and through the monastery they sent me to Avengarde, and through Avengarde I took a contract to come up here north.
Follower of Tyr come mercenary. Not too strange, I would imagine. As a follower of Ilmater, though, you may find some respite within these caverns. We have kobolds, and I'm not sure if you know fully of what kobolds do for their families, but they are sort of an entire communal. Every kobold is born as a sibling to another kobold, pretty much. Therefore, their communal living is run somewhat similar to orphanages and things like that. There are many kobold children that are around here. If you wish to assist in caring for them and other things like that in return for being given refuge, feel free to do so.
That
Also-
actually sounds nice. I might do that while I'm here.
He gives you a bit of a smile before he turns to Bastion, small frown on his face. Also, follower of Morden. There is something in particular that we could actually use your help with, should you have the time to. I'm not sure if you were really trained too much in the ways of forging. But there's a particular item that we need a bit of assistance in creating for a ritual that we haven't been able to in a very long time due to the last of the items breaking a few centuries ago.
It doesn't say in my abilities. I don't know if I am proficient with smith's tools. I'd have to look it up.
You are technically not proficient in smith's tools, but being a follower of Morden, as well as having read books such as like the Bastion manual and stuff like that, you do have some knowledge of smithing and things of the like.
Well, with Tasha's Cauldron, don't you get like proficiencies based on where you're raised and stuff like that?
You can choose to have something like that, yes. I
feel
will
like being
actually
around the Temple of Moradin would make it to where I had some knowledge, if not am proficient with smith's tools.
Yeah, I was about to say, I would actually allow you to have proficiency in smithing tools if you wish to. I would not mind doing that, as that would actually make a lot of sense for the way that I have the Clergy of Moradin set up.
I would love that.
Okay. Yeah. Regardless, I'd imagine that you wish to see the, as you called her, Wolf Princess. She should still be over this way. He guides you through some, like, winding caves and things like that, sort of making small talk, talking about, like, your gods, things like that, things that you might do, and your pastime within the temples, things like that, sort of just trying to help pass the time. There is a lot of cave, and it is very confusing. The caves sort of like all look the same, and all that's around you are just silver and white kobolds and dragonborns, and a lot of them look very, very, like very, very similar, if not the same. Due to that, don't really know if you'd be able to really actually backtrack back to the entrance without assistance. But after about another 45 minutes of sort of winding through all of this, you feel like as if you're probably about like another like 800 feet up the mountain, if not more. And you actually get dragged into this room where you do see Kari, seeming a little more miffed than usual, though none the worse for wear. Seeming to talk to this Dragonborn in a completely different regalia than any of the other Dragonborn that you've seen so far. All the Dragonborn you've seen so far, they have a sort of like half plate, like hide sort of like mixture going on, whereas this one seems like as if it's completely like robes. They're like silver and white and blue robes with fur linings on the sleeves as well as the actual outer parts of the robes. You see the fact that on the back of it, as well as on the sleeves, seem to be the symbols of stars. And over the right chest part, you see the actual full symbol of Saloon there. There is a headdress on this dragonborn that also has a symbol of a moon on it. And he is standing before Kari, looking slightly apologetic. I'm sorry that you had to go through this, lady, but we had to make sure that you were going to bring no harm to this land and its people.
And I thought I've told you several times. My name is Kari, and I'm the Wolf Princess. I'm contracted to the servant of Elune, known as the Great Wolf. I'm here to prevent an unfortunate happenstance of the Great Wolf aligning with your enemies.
I understand that. We just needed to make sure. I apologize for the inconvenience. Now, it looks like as if your companions are here to pick you up. I'd suggest you make your rest for the evening, set out first thing in the morning. Seems you've started to overstay your welcome. This priest, as you can probably tell, seems like as if probably is originally a kind of like kind heart. The face looks gentle. The demeanor also looks kind of like soft and tranquil. But you see this kind of like icy cold, like anger in the face at this point in time, like as if he'd just gone through a discussion that was really, really annoying and frustrating and was trying to be nice and was just having that slapped back in their face. Pretty much is the feeling that you get. There's this like annoyed anger. I assume that you two are the compatriots of this fair lady here.
Yes, we were the ones traveling with her.
Bastion's eyes are wide at the term fair lady.
He kind of gives you a look, Bastion, looking a little confused. You seem confused at my use of the term. Is there something wrong with it?
Oh, no, I just feel it was a... Oh, never mind. I just feel like if I were to say that to her, she'd probably punch me or something.
She knows her place in the hierarchy of the clergy of Saloon.
Oh, of course. I wasn't insinuating that she would punch you. I was just taken aback by the title.
We use that for most women as a term of... How would you say it? Not really endearment, but sort of a kindness of sorts. Respect.
Oh, I'm not very good with words. I saw it as like a stab, as in like a taunt. My
No.
apologies.
While this wolf princess has been a bit frustrating, nonetheless, she is contracted to the Great Wolf, the servant of Our Lady Silver. Therefore, she is considered a part of the clergy of Saloon. As frustrating as that may be. Regardless, my name is Gentleheart. I am somewhat of how some of you may see it. Sorry, I have difficulties speaking this tongue. He starts to speak in Draconic. I'm what is known as a ruler to you people. And then says in common after finally like finding the words, a ruler of sorts. I think for your temples, you generally refer to them as high priests or clerics of the kind.
Yes.
I am somewhat similar to that. I once again want to extend my apology out towards the inconvenience for you all. I understand that you actually mean no harm, but please try to understand that we are just taking precautions. We'll of course accommodate you for the night and assist you on your way to dealing with these red eagles. Though, if you are going to deal with these red eagles, then there is a arrangement that I would like to offer towards you. The fair lady here seems to be adamant of not accepting, but she might be convinced otherwise should other people see the actual benefits of this. As I've said before, the Great Wolf is a servant of Saloon, and the Red Eagles are an enemy to the Scales of Silver, the Silver Scales of Saloon, otherwise known to you all as just the Scales of Saloon. Many names. He starts to speak in Draconic again, starting to like kind of go into thought, not really thinking about trying to include everyone in this conversation.
I'll
And
help translate for him.
Yeah, he starts to just kind of like stare up towards the ceiling. As of about a decade ago, these red eagles have become a pain in our sides, almost quite literally. On the mountain neighboring us, they've taken up refuge and have been expanding their influence. While before we were able to contain it and somewhat push them out, ever since these two people have popped up, one such as... and starts to speak in common once more. Pardon me, I got lost in thought.
You're fine, I'm translating for you.
Thank you. There are two entities that have seemed to empowered the Red Eagles. One of them through the use of supplies, food, clothing, as well as weapons and other strange technologies, but another one through medicines. One of them is seemingly one of you, and points towards you, Bastion. The other one, though, is... I can't really tell what she is. Or if it's even a she. It's obviously either a dwarf or a halfling, but the gender is hard to discern. There seems to be mutilations and scars all over their body from the parts that we've been able to tell. But it seems like as if they're a master of alchemy of the sorts, supplying medicines and poisons. It's been very difficult dealing with the Red Eagles since this person has showed up. The tools and the weapons we're able to deal with, but the poisons as well as the medicines that heal their wounded make it much more frightening. So my arrangement is this. Eliminate one of those two people. And if not eliminate, at least drive them away in some sort of way. Make a deal with them, whatever it takes. Have at least one of them not assist the Red Eagles anymore. And we will move some of our resources, manpower, weapons, and other things, to assist looking towards Kari Your village. You've been dealing with invaders from both the north and the south at this point in time, and I imagine you could use the help. Help us, and we'll help you. I'd imagine that you might want to talk amongst each other, and possibly think on it. You also look exhausted. We'll have food sent to you, beds prepared for you, and you can think on it for the night. Come morning, though, I would like an answer. If you have no answer, then feel free to make the decision once you are actually there. If you deal with them, I'll take that as a yes, and if you don't, then I'll take it as a no. Now, I wish you a good night, and may she who guides light your path. And then Gentleheart slowly turns around and starts to walk out of the room. So, to sort of congest all of that down, pretty much the High Cleric Gentleheart of the Scales of Saloon has offered to assist Rimewood Village in turn of being assisted in dealing with one of two people, this strange female bastion unit, or this powerful alchemist that seemed to be assisting the Red Eagles. Deal with one of those two, and the Scales of Saloon will assist Rimewood Village.
I definitely would have said something during the conversation, but I felt that decision was almost completely up to Kari.
I do not wish to accept this for one reason and one reason only. And that is the fact that while the Great Wolf may be affiliated with the Moon Maiden, I am not. I am affiliated with the Great Wolf. To accept the aid of the Scales of Saloon means that I have a certain obligation to their clergy, as well as will the people of my village. I understand that it would make some things easier, but it would also make other things harder. The village will be encapsulated in the domain of the Scales of Saloon, and I don't wish to make that choice for the people. I'm there by contract, and while they may see me as somewhat of a leader, I'm there for no more reason than the fact that I have to be. Otherwise, I'd be with my sister.
Well, couldn't you possibly change the deal somehow? Maybe instead of helping protect the village, they could just take care of one of the fronts, as in maybe take care of the Ice Queen. If she is gone, then you will no longer have to protect the south. And I also feel that, well, I'm not actually sure how this village came to be what it is now, but isn't there a sacred relic there that pertains to Saloon in some way? So it is kind of their business whether it is taken or not.
You see Kari's eyes widen a little bit, and she looks like as if she's about to ask something, and then she shakes her head.
Of course, the Scales of Saloon would have some knowledge of that. Yes, there is a artifact there. A relic more than anything. An artifact that has lost its power. If it's returned to the Moonspire, this place.
She motions around towards, like, the caverns and stuff like that.
There's supposedly a place in which the moonlight condenses into a single beam. It enhances the rituals of Saloon, things like that. A ritual that is done there may very well restore the artifact to its full strength, but it's sort of... Have you heard the legend of the Sword in the Stone? A sword that is only able to be pulled out by a chosen one.
I don't know if I know like the specific legend or anything like that, but I have heard renditions of it. Yes.
This artifact that the Great Wolf has ordered me to protect is in fact such a sword. A sword that cannot be moved. Though instead of from a stone, it's from a display, of all things.
She actually looks genuinely confused as she says that. Just like, seriously, a display of all things.
It's within a back room of my home. The display itself can be moved, but that's only with great effort. It takes the strength of 10 men to be able to even move it a small distance. Over a great amount of time, it could probably be transported here, but first of all, the easiest way to do it would be to find someone that the blade actually accepts. Unfortunately, that hasn't happened yet. So I stand guard over the blade, as the Great Wolf bids.
Are there any markings or anything like that on the blade?
Yes.
I assume the blade will only accept a follower of Saloon, and I do not believe we have anybody like that in the group, but couldn't you also just put it on like a cart or something of the sorts and move it all the way here? I don't feel like that would be such a hard task.
Normally it wouldn't, but with all of the snow, it makes it very difficult to pull carts and such through the roads, while walking isn't too much of an issue. The carts not being able to very much gain traction, and the traction that it does gain is mostly because of the heavy weight of the display, which makes it even more difficult for it to actually be pulled through the deeper parts of the snow. We've attempted to transport it, but no such luck, especially with beings such as the Red Eagles and Exiles around it. A cart is a lucrative opportunity, usually carrying supplies or something of importance. Very often attacked. Most people do not travel with carts. Not anymore.
I understand.
As I said before, with great effort, the blade would be able to be transported. What would be easier is just to have a follower of Saloon, or at least someone, even if it's not a follower of Saloon, accepted by the blade, just take the sword and bring it here. Unfortunately, there hasn't been anyone that we've found as of yet that seems to be accepted.
Who all do you actually have try this? Just people born in your village, or random travelers?
The people born of the village are... I didn't want to originally mention it, but the people that are of that village were originally exiles and criminals that had gathered together. No longer accepted by any other tribe, but they wish to turn over a new leaf. But no, they're not the ones that I generally have test on it. I generally test those of clergies, paladins, clerics, priests, things like that. I was in fact actually going to have you and your friends here test and see if you could pull the blade, even if you aren't followers of Saloon, just for the simple fact that, who knows? Unfortunately, the scales of Saloon seemed so goddamn stuck to this mountain that they don't wish to try and make the trek, even if it is for an artifact. They fear that even just a few clerics or paladins missing from the patrol routes and guard duties might very well let these red eagles pierce into the sacred grounds, and they won't allow that. Maybe once the red eagles are dealt with, in some manner of speaking, then maybe they'll attempt to take the blade. I have no idea.
Then why not a system? I mean, I know it might cause problems in your village, but maybe the good outweighs the bad.
There is one other reason. We've had dealings with the Ironhide tribe to the north. We've begun talks of making a deal in order to actually ask for their assistance in dealing with the, as your Bastion friend so adequately put it, the Ice Queen to the north. Since they reside the closest to this menace, we figured that their assistance would be the most pertinent. Unfortunately, there is a bit of bad blood between the Scales of Saloon and the Ironhide tribe due to I would say, altercation that happened around 8 years back. That and an additional issue that popped up with Ironhide tribe was around, I think it was around 20 years ago. The supposed heir to the tribe fled, and the Scales of Saloon supposedly assisted him in his travels. The Ironhide tribe did not take kindly to that.
Do I know who this person is?
You would, actually.
You would know. You'd know this. And actually, I actually posted it to you a while back.
No, I know. I was just wondering if that was the person.
Yes, that is the person.
He would probably, like, again, mutter under his breath and just probably say Kieran's.
Alright.
You know of Kieran Ironhide. That's strange.
Yes, he is. Coincidentally, he is our. I don't know how you would say it. Our superior of sorts. He is honestly one of the reasons we're here, actually.
She looks a little stunned at that.
The heir of the Ironhide. You know. Where? Never mind, I shouldn't know that. Does anybody else of your group know where Kieran is at?
I don't believe so. That information is, well, not classified. It is not widely spread amongst people that should not know.
Of course, you're mercenary knights, aren't you?
Yes.
I don't recall if you've ever actually mentioned that, but if you had, then my apologies. My mind's been elsewhere. I should have connected the dots. If your friends that were searching for the Tiefling went to the Ironhide clan. Depending on how they answer Taran's questions, they could be in a certain amount of danger.
What do you mean? Do they know where Kieran went?
They've looked into it a little bit through the use of other tribes, and they've discovered the fact that Kieran became something that was called a mercenary knight, something such as you. And they know the look of the badge of office, I believe is what you call it, something along those lines at least, the symbol of said mercenary knights.
I pull mine out. This one?
Yes, if he identifies that, and they don't answer him as he wishes, it could get very dangerous for them.
That's troublesome. I wish we had a way of contacting them.
Regardless,
As she says that, she starts to stand up.
I'd imagine that we should probably sleep and... Oh, well... Speak of it, and it appears...
As she says that, there are probably like 4 kobolds that are holding like these trays over their heads that walk in, and they have like piping hot food on them. It looks like as if it's a mixture of like soup, as well as soup, bread, as well as some other sort of weird like grain mixture that you're not 100% sure. The kobolds talk in Draconic, kind of like explaining the way that you're supposed to like mix all this together. And you see, and while you don't understand them, Bastion, Bond, pretty much they're telling you that you're supposed to take the grains and put them into the soup. And it absorbs the soup's liquid and becomes normal vegetables. Pretty much, these things are dehydrated vegetables. And they kind of give a showing of putting them in there, and you see the fact that these like weird like looking grains like sort of expand outwards, and it looks like as if they become corn, pretty much. And they set these trays down, and then, you know, kind of waddle off, going back to their own things. These trays, mind you, are like twice the size of the kobolds. So you guys are given the food. Kari looks a little confused by the corn, but eats it nonetheless. And it tastes like normal corn. Like, it doesn't taste off or anything like that. It just takes a little time for it to absorb the liquid. And the meal itself actually tastes pretty good. It's kind of light, not really heavily seasoned at all in any way. But it tastes good. Nice, warm. Kind of reminds you of home in a manner of speaking. And after that, you guys are led by a couple Dragonborns off to a separate area in which you enter a large chamber that seems to have hides and furs and things like that on the ground that seem to be acting somewhat as bedding. And they tell you the fact that you are free to use this area as well as the connecting chambers to this area, in which you've seen the fact that the connecting chambers seem to have like act somewhat of like a like sort of dressing room area, as well as like a sitting room where you might like entertain guests and other things like that. And then there's another area that seems to act as somewhat of like a restroom of some sort, and like there seems to be a hole that goes down, and you can kind of make out what looks like some sort of like gelatinous creature down there. But yeah, overall, pretty nice accommodations. And on top of it all, you don't have to worry about making perception checks, Bastion.
Yay!
Yay!
Did we actually go back for our stuff? Stuff like that, or is it just sitting out there?
As of right now, it is just sitting out there.
Cool.
I would imagine that you guys would have brought, like, your packs along, but, like, the tent and, stuff for setting up the, like, the tenting, like, camping supplies, I imagine that probably would have ended up being left behind.
Yeah. Bedrolls and such.
Yeah.
Well, I take the time it takes to start. Wait, no, never mind. Is the armor a part of me?
Sort of. It's, like, kind of, like, attached to you, but it can be detached. You talked about how it is the fact that you would upgrade your armor. Pretty much how it is the fact that you would replace the armor with, like, better armor. For the most part, like, you'd modify it to actually fit your body and attach it onto you. So the armor technically can be removed, and you'd be just, like, the normal, like, Bastion unit without the actual armor on it.
I assume, like, after I gain sentience, if that were not the case, or something like that, it'd probably be very uncomfortable, since I have feeling to sleep, so...
Yeah.
Would have semi-modified it to where I could be without.
Yeah.
So yeah, I take off my armor and then go to reading, I guess.
Aight. So you read some books. During that point in time, Rengar does make a reappearance. Bastion unit. I did bring up something about hoping smith something.
Yes.
If
that
you
time be now?
Unfortunately, we don't have all the preparations, but if you do have the time, say once you're done with the whole Red Eagles predicament and other things, and things have calmed down, if you do have the time, then feel free to stop by. We would be able to give you a reward of sorts for assisting us with this.
Most definitely. I'd love to help in any way I can.
Of course, we just need to procure the materials, which could take, honestly, days to weeks to months, depending on how the situation pans out. So, feel no need to hurry, just keep it in mind. In fact, if you wish to be able to assist us once we are fully ready, there is a way that we could do that. He thinks for a moment, and he reaches into a pouch on his side. Generally, we're supposed to hand these out to scouts or different groups amongst the scouts. But I think we could technically make an exception for this if you're going to actually help us out. And he hands you a stone that looks like as if it has the face of a man yelling. This is a sending stone. Do you know what that is?
Do I know what that is?
Do you know what that is?
I mean,
Roll
I
an
know what
Arcana.
that is.
Roll an Arcana check. Yeah, I would say the fact that you do know what a sending stone is. Pretty much you can use it to cast a sending spell targeted to the pairing of this stone. It can only be used once a day. But as it is technically the sending spell, there is no actual limit to how far away you have to be as long as you're on the same plane of existence. Actually, I always forget. Yeah, okay, so technically, even on other planes, just less likely chance of it actually occurring.
Yeah.
But yeah, you do know what a sending stone is.
It is a sending stone.
Yes. With this, you'd be able to get back in contact with me since I have the other pair, or me to you in return. Once we do have all of the supplies necessary, I would love to contact you and see if you'd be able to assist us in the crafting of the ritual item.
Most definitely. As long as you do not contact me while I am... Well, rather... At the earliest I am not busy after you contact me, I will try to assist as soon as I can.
Very well. Makes as much sense as any.
Might I ask what this ritual item does?
It's nothing in particular. There are a few different items that are crafted using the blessing of Saloon. One such thing is Moonfire, which can be used to enchant items. Unfortunately, we don't have the container that is proper to actually hold such a thing. Moonfire is a product of certain rituals. And the container that used to hold it, the altar for that ritual, has somewhat broken. We need to form a new container as well as tools for the said specific rituals that actually produce the Moonfire.
And one more question. What material might I be working with? If I'm not familiar with it, I will have to either... It'll take longer, or I will have to research it before doing so.
Gems, stone, and metal. A mixture of these three. Gems such as... well, I guess it would be obvious for things such as moonstone as well as opal. But then there's also just straight stone, quarried directly from the moonspire. And then there's also silver, blessed silver at that, used in the creation of the tools as well as the basin for the moonfire itself. You would mostly be working with the jewels as well as the blessed silver. The stone itself would be, for the most part, crafted by our own craftsmen. Unfortunately, due to the nature of Saloon, we have few people who are adept at crafting such delicate items. Firm swords and strong armor, yes, but the more delicate side of things, such as ritualistic knives and masks, as well as filigree for the basin and other such things using the more softer side of the metals, is difficult for a craftsman. With much time and materials they could, but should we be able to do so with far less materials and use those elsewhere, wouldn't that be the better?
Surely. Well, I don't feel I should have a problem with any of that.
That's good. And as for you, Bon, unfortunately, due to Gentleheart's argument with the Wolf Princess, it seems like as if he's unlikely to allow you all to stay for very long here. But should you wish to, I would see no reason why you wouldn't be able to accompany Bastion back here whenever he assists in the crafting of the ritual items, if you wish to, of course.
If time allows it and I am able to, then possibly.
On top of that, you said that you were from a monastery to the far east, correct?
Correct.
And you said you're strange for your kind. Does that mean that you're the only one who has done such a thing?
As far as I know, I've been the only one of my clan to have been there, and I have not seen any other bugbears in the monastery.
Last question for you. Have you ever heard of the Pale Lady?
Bastion perks up at the mention, as if like he's excited because he knows something.
I know of her, yes.
No,
A
I'm thinking of
long-
someone else, aren't I?
Probably.
The
A
Silver
long...
Lady.
Yes, the Silver Lady is if not the leader of the God Hunters. The Pale Lady is different.
Okay, the Bastion does not perk up.
At least as far as you guys know, the Pale Lady's different. They might be the same. Or maybe you guys think they are the same and she might actually be different. You guys don't know. Anyways, point is, the Pale Lady, a very, very long time ago, before this curse befell the land, was once a part of the clergy of Saloon. But due to her grief and rage, she lost herself to anger and depression and became a very demonic person. There was I believe they're called monks. There was a monk that came from the Far East, a bugbear supposedly, a hermit, actually, that had made his home not in Austria, but to the south, in a country known as Alavrin, apparently. But he once roamed the lands before making his home there, and apparently he took her under his wing to help purge the darkness from her heart. I thought it an interesting story, legend perhaps, that you might be interested in, seeing as you think of yourself as possibly one of the only one of your kind to have come from a monastery from the east. The part that is the most interesting is the fact that apparently he was a follower of Ilmater. Perhaps you came from the same monastery. But just a thought.
It could be possible.
Now here's the most interesting part, and then a tidbit that I thought you might be interested in. More just from one religious man to another, rather than for any sort of expected return. Around a decade ago, there was a traveler that came around here. A Bastion unit, such as yourself, actually, that was talking about a hermit that still made his home in Alavrin, a bugbear monk. Though there was no name given, he talked like as if he had been through centuries. Perhaps it might be the same monk still. Might be interesting for you to go and find that person should you have the time.
That is some interesting news. I may have to look into it if I have a chance.
Unfortunately, I don't have a name for you, but I don't know. I guess from one lost history to another, I would rather you not feel alone in the world, such as the Scales of Saloon do after the loss of Avanas, Gentle Heart. Even centuries later, we still have not recovered from that. Don't let yourself feel alone in the world. There's always someone similar to you out there. Besides that, though, I should probably let you all rest. You're looking mighty exhausted, and it is becoming very late. Just like he said, at this point in time, it's probably around like 3 in the morning. He does get up, and he gives you all a bow. I wish you all a good night.
One more question before you leave.
Of course.
If we were to return, it would probably be with more of our group. Would they be allowed to enter, or should they wait for us while we travel here and back?
Well, luckily, we have the sending stones to contact each other. That may change in the future. As of right now, I would say no, but who knows, in the future, Gentleheart may be more accepting should our predicaments lighten up a bit.
I understand. Thank you.
Of course. May she who guides light your path. Have a good night. And he goes ahead and he leaves. So you guys have the rest of your night. You sleep a little bit past the normal time you guys wake up. By the time that you guys wake up, it's closer to around like 10 in the morning.
On a side note, I do want to, right before going to sleep, probably pull out my compass and stare at it for a while. Just for fun.
Okay. Thank God you finally did it. Okay. I have been waiting for you to fucking pull out this compass since the entire time you've been in the north. Okay.
My bad. I've missed a lot of sessions.
I know, you're fine. You're fine. You see the fact that the compass is giving off a bright kind of like coppery glow. And the needle itself is giving off the brightest glow and is pointing towards the southeast in the direction of the Red Eagles. Or at least the mountain in which the Red Eagles primarily consider their home. It only as you're looking at it, it only barely shifts just a little bit back and forth, like as if the person is maybe moving over the course of this, but it's ever so very, very slight. And it takes a very long time for it to do so.
The second I notice it's glowing and moving, I would probably get really excited and show Bomb, just because he's the closest person to me.
Bon, you see this, you see the strange compass that seems to be glowing. This kind of like bright coppery hue with this needle that's ever so slightly moving. And you know the fact that this is not a normal compass because of the fact that it is pointing towards the southeast. And you
What?
know that compasses should definitely be pointing towards the north.
This is quite the interesting compass you've got. It typical compasses point north.
Yes. I don't know what's wrong with this one.
That's fair.
It
You
usually
technically
doesn't-
actually don't know.
It usually doesn't point to anything at all, actually, but tonight, I just felt like pulling it out, and this happened.
Nope, Bond believes you. Oh, interesting, I guess. You have any idea why it would be pointing at something now?
Well, if I had to, yeah. I did pull it out when we were speaking with the Silver Lady, I believe is what her title was. And it did point to someone that was on patrol. And if it's pointing to someone now, and it looks like it's pointing in the direction of the Red Eagles, I'd say it probably points me to the nearest, maybe, Bastion unit?
Interesting.
Or sentient Bastion unit, I should say. I guess we won't know till tomorrow. I just got excited. I apologize. I'll go back to sleep.
You're fine.
All right, so yeah, you guys sleep, and you wake up. Like I said before, it's pretty much like around 10 at this point in time. You guys normally wake up around like 6 or 7. It's definitely a lot later than you guys normally wake up. You guys are given a breakfast, and Rengar as well as Orin do come in order to sort of guide you. They do give you a little bit of supplies, some camping supplies like tents and bedrolls and stuff like that. Seeing as the fact that yours were kind of left behind, and they pretty much just said that they'll swap out what you left behind, your camping gear for this camping gear, so that way the fact that they don't have to go and freaking retrieve it for you, and they can just use it for the people that are already out there.
Deal.
In addition to that, you are guided back out of the caverns of Saloon and pointed in the direction in which the Red Eagles are at. You're told of a small path that will kind of like wind through the mountains that should cut the time a lot shorter. It's a path that is often used by the Red Eagles in order to try and like go through this land, but since you guys are going to meet the Red Eagles, they figure that you probably shouldn't be attacked by them. And if you are, well then it doesn't matter what route you're going to take, you're going to be attacked anyways.
Nice.
With that path, it sort of cuts down the time in which you would need to travel by about half to it, and so you should probably reach the Red Eagles village that you're attempting to get to, one of their main villages, probably by nightfall. It is a little bit windy, so you are having like snow being kicked up into your face. It's also really, really cold. Possibly due to the fact that you're kind of like partially up a mountain at this point in time. Bastion, you once again do see the giant birds that are circling around. They are definitely bigger than before, now that you're actually like pretty much on the mountain. And it looks like as if they're like swooping down and attacking something. You did see one that looked like as if it was carrying up a creature that was a lot smaller than it, which could have been anything from like a wolf to a snow leopard to a deer. You don't really know what in the world it was, but whatever it is, apparently just got freaking snatched. And it looks like as if it gets dragged up to some part of the mountain and then just disappears. And you have a feeling the fact that the rocks are probably feeding on creatures that are on the mountain. And you might want to avoid that.
supposed to know that they were rocks?
No, but I got tired of referring to them as giant birds, and I already know the fact that you know that they're rocks.
Cool.
Anyways.
That's fun.
Well, that's fun. Yeah,
Good.
that was my feeling too. Oops.
If Bob didn't see them or notice them, Bastion would probably point that out, but otherwise, no.
So, you guys make your way across these little mountain paths that you were pointed out to. Probably about 3/4 of your journey through, it's starting to become like, it's starting to get to sundown. And it's whenever you actually start seeing tribesmen of the Red Eagles here and there. These ones are a lot more wild than the ones that you actually saw at the village. Tattoos on the parts of their bodies that you do see. There's like strange like piercings in different parts of their body, from like different parts of their ears to like in their nose, as well as like above their eyebrows and things like that. And you also see the fact that some of them are wearing these strange like masks that seem to depict different creatures. Some of them seem to be like wolves, other ones seems to be birds. Some of them seem to be like deers or elks or something along those lines. And other ones seem to be like rams. But they all have one thing in common, and that's the fact that they all follow the same coloration of red and gold or black. A lot of the clothing also has the symbol of the Red Eagles on it. And there are some people who, if they're not wearing masks, seems to have some sort of face paint on their face. The 3 people that you guys have met did not have like almost any of this stuff. They didn't have like their bodies pierced. They didn't have like freaking paint all over them or anything like that. But these people all do. They sort of just give you guys a watchful eye. They don't talk to you. They don't come up and interact with you and welcome you or anything. They just sort of give you a watchful eye. And as you guys travel, the sun finally starts to fully set. And, oops. And you guys are finally able to lay your eyes on the mountainside village that is considered one of the main homes of the Red Eagles. All right. There's a bit of I'm sorry, there's like an issue that suddenly popped up on my computer, like everything just froze. Just a second. Okay, there we go. That was weird. Anyways. Yeah, so you guys see this village that is home to the Red Eagles. There is like banners that are along the sides of these walls that go up the side of the mountains into the mountain itself. Part of the mountain acting as sort of a protection from people who might try and attack. Despite all of all of the signs that might lead to thinking the contrary, these people are pretty well organized and armed. You see like siege weapons on the walls. The walls themselves actually are partially reinforced with like what looks like iron or steel as well. There's torches along the sides of the walls, giving you a pretty good sight of the things themselves. And the people that are patrolling it seem like as if they're outfitted in like heavy leathers or metal armor, insulated metal armors. You see a very familiar looking person walk out of the village gates. A tall man with dark skin, a wide grin on his face. The same sort of like cloak robe sort of outfit that he was wearing back in Rimewood Village, still on his body. He gives you all a bit of a bow. Almost exaggerated like. Before he raises his face up, looking directly at Kari.
Well, it looks like as if you finally made it here. Rakim the Red welcomes you to the Red Eagle Village. Hopefully you'll enjoy your stay. Now, come, tribesmen. Our guests of honor have finally arrived, though they are a bit of a day late. Let's give them food and wine to warm their bodies after the hard several days' travel. I hope you didn't have any unfortunate circumstances befall you. You seem to be missing quite a few people, actually, including your great wolf that you always seem to rely on.
As Rakim says this, he has a almost like a smirk on his face, and you see the fact that Kari in the torchlight looks a little humiliated and angry.
Oh, come now, I don't mean any offense by that. Of course we're going to welcome you with open arms. The talks can start tomorrow. After all, I imagine that some situations may have come up where you may have rethought your previous declaration of declining, yes? Regardless, we'll think on that tomorrow. For now, warm your bodies with our wine and food. The Red Eagles welcome you with open arms.
As he says that, he turns around and he starts to walk back into the village. Several of the guards flank him on either side, and Kari slowly filters in behind, looking a little angry, but she seems to be holding it in.
Could I possibly roll insight to get more insight on that conversation?
Go for it.
Basically, like if he was more sinister or anything like that. Balls, I only got a 4. I'm a watcher, but I can't watch.
Apparently, Bon is good at reading this situation.
Bon,
That's good.
he didn't seem surprised by your lack of people. In fact, he almost looked like as if he was expecting it. He does seem like as if he knows something, and he almost looks like as if he's relishing in the fact of knowing it. You're not 100% sure. You can't really tell if he was like trying to be like hostile or if like anything he was saying or doing really was like menacing in any way. It seemed more like as if he was just like flaunting his information without actually telling you anything. from what he said, he knows the fact that something has happened to your group, which has caused you to split up.
Bond would probably pull both of them back a little bit, letting them get further ahead of us.
Yes, Bond. Is there something that you need?
It seems like they know more than they're letting on. Like they expected us to be this few.
As a follower of Lyra, I'd have no doubt that he would hold back information on such thing. He might have even been the cause of it. We're not 100% sure. Regardless, we're not really in a position to be questioning.
True, but I figured I'd let you at least know.
I give my thanks regardless. Thank you. Hopefully I'll be able to use that information to some regard. I'll have to see though. If he was the reason for your friend's disappearance, I will do everything in my power to make him pay for that. I hope you understand.
I do, but let's get this over with for now.
Of course.
You seem like a nice enough guy to me.
Rakim does seem to slow down for a moment.
Did your travels wear on you more than I thought? You seem to be lagging behind. Is there something wrong?
You see the
Bastion is just looking around like at everything, like he didn't even notice Rakim talk.
It seems as if you're being distracted by curiosity, my friend. Don't worry. I imagine the fact is you'll be here at least for a couple days, at the least. During that time, feel free to explore the village. I imagine that some of the folk here might be interested in one such as you. It wouldn't be the first time they've seen someone like you, but you, Bastion units are a curious sort.
Bastion gets... I want to say he gets fake excited and real excited at the same time. Because he actually does want to explore. But he's also trying to cover up the fact that we were talking about anything.
Don't worry, my friend. Like I said, you'll be able to explore to your heart's content. For now, just rest up, warm yourselves by the fires, drink wine, be merry. Introduce yourself to the village in the best way possible. Through partying and conversation. And of course, gossip. If you have any gossip or stories to tell, then the people here love such things. And of course, I wouldn't mind telling some stories of my own. Of course, should you tell some of yourselves.
He gives you like a toothy grin as he says that.
I love stories.
Oh, of course, friend, of course, as do I. Rakim knows many stories. Hopefully you'll be able to help me expand on the amount that I know, though. Now, we have arrived at the village center. As you can see, we have a party full underway. We were expecting you to arrive yesterday, to be honest, so the feast that was only supposed to last for a day has lasted for 2 now. We'll extend it for a 3rd one, just for you to be able to experience the fullness of it, but regardless, go, have fun, join in with the festivities. And then on the morrow, we can talk of business. At that point in time, I imagine that Me and the Wolf Princess will be doing most of the talking, though. Now, if you'll excuse me, Rakim has prior engagements to be dealing with. Your sudden arrival interrupted something that I was in the middle of, and I should finish that up so that way stories could be told at a later date.
Bastion waves.
May the mists conceal your thoughts, follower of Morden.
As he says that, he kind of like does this like you see all these people that are like dancing around these bonfires, and he sort of like starts to like follow in with this dance, and he like melts into the crowd and then just like pretty much disappears from sight.
The second he's gone, Bastion will pull out his compass and look at it.
The compass is pointing towards the western side of the village from the looks of it. It's not moving at this point in time. It's just pointing towards the western side.
Do you guys need me for any reason at the moment?
If you decide to go, just be careful.
I really would like to figure out what this compass does and what it points towards. If it ends up leading out of the village, I will not do that, obviously, but... Andrew's gone.
No, I wasn't.
Oh.
I was just
I'm
doing
sorry.
something. I didn't want to...
Andrew's muted.
Yeah, I just didn't want to interrupt you guys while I was doing something. Kari looks towards the festivities, seeming a little down, and then finally looks towards you.
No, Bastion, I don't think there's anything that you'll be needed for at this point in time. If there's something that you wish to do, then tonight would probably be the best time to do it anyways.
Certainly, thank you. I guess I will come back to this location after I'm done. I'm sure it won't be hard to find you two, seeing as you're quote-unquote the guest of honor. Or we are.
Something along those lines. Yes, it probably wouldn't be too hard for you to find us.
And he turns on his heels and walks away.
All right. So I'm imagining that you're following the compass.
No. Yeah, I am.
No, I walk in the opposite direction. Okay. Okay, yeah, so you follow the compass. It sort of like makes you wind through the village. There's some people that kind of give you some weird looks and stuff like that.
When they do so, I just wave and then go back to doing what I was doing.
They give you even harder weird looks. But seeing as the fact that Rakim pretty much literally guided you guys to the central part of the village and pretty much told you to enjoy the festivities, they don't really do anything. There's a couple of like the guards people that seem to keep a wary eye on you and are sort of like partially following you. But they seem to like kind of like pass it on to other people, other guards as they come across them until it's like this sort of like chain sort of thing that's happening almost. Just to keep sort of an eye on you. It doesn't take you too long though to go across the village and make your way over to where the compass seems to be pointing. You come across a rather large hut. The door is partially open.
I would probably make like a half or full circle around said hut to make sure that the needle is pointing
Okay, yeah.
in that direction.
Yeah. You do so. The guards give you a weird look, as they don't really know what in the world it is that you're doing.
That's okay, I don't notice that.
Yeah, that's okay. So yeah, they give you a bit of a weird look, and they literally are following you around the building. But yeah, you circle around this building, and the compass is pointing towards the inside of this building. Well, at least towards the building itself.
Yeah. I walk up to the door that is semi-ajar and knock, I guess.
As you knock on the door itself swings open a bit, and you see a Bastion unit. Very feminine in appearance, though. Like, literally looks like as if it was molded after a woman rather than a man, like all Bastion units are modeled after. Or at least androgynous.
Yeah.
Is I guess what I should say. An androgynous look. But this one is clearly feminine. And she turns towards you, and you get a full look, and the face has also been changed. Like, literally everything about this Bastion unit has been changed. The hair is sort of like this long color. The face itself looks extremely, like, human-oriented. With a very kind of like pale white color. The eyes, though, are a strange sort of red color. She's wearing these long sort of flowing robes on her body as she stands up and looks towards you.
I'm sorry, who exactly are you?
Oh, I'm nobody really. I was just following this compass.
Oh, a Bastion unit. What in the God's name would bring you here?
This compass. For some reason, it seems to be pointing at you, almost directly.
Oh, really?
She takes some long strides towards you and kind of like walks around you while keeping an eye on the compass.
Well, be damned. The compass really is pointing at me. That's strange. Did you come all this way just to look for me?
No. I was actually heading here, accompanying someone, and just happened to look at the compass, and it seemed to be not doing its regular thing of nothing, and it was pointing in a specific direction, so I decided to follow it, to investigate.
How peculiar. Well, I don't know fully why it would point at me. As you can see, I'm not really a true Bastion unit. Maybe it points towards those that have been modified beyond the standards. I'm not sure, though. What exactly are you doing here if you're not looking for me, then?
I was tasked with accompanying the Wolf Princess.
Oh, she's finally here. Oh, the Red Eagles thought that she was going to have arrived yesterday. Or at least last night. Still, good to hear the fact that she's safe. I was afraid that those damned Scales of Elune are going to have done something to her. I guess it might be some sort of truth that her wolf is associated with them then, though if they didn't harm her in any way.
It seems so.
A relief the fact that it seems like as if you're all okay, though.
We have arrived safely, yes. One one of our companions was traveling a little slow, seeing as he was stuck out in the blizzard the day before.
Oh, that would make sense. That would explain your strange absence of arriving the prior day. Still, is there, besides just sating your curiosity of the compass, is there something else that you came here for?
Well, now that I have met you, I actually have some questions that, if you don't mind.
Well, honestly, I have nothing else to do right now, so I don't see a reason why I wouldn't be able to answer your questions.
Nothing too intrusive, I hope. I was just wondering about your being in general. Are you programmed this way, or are you sentient? And do you know the reason why you were given such sentience, if you are?
Ah, of course that would be what you would ask after.
Yeah, I'm basically a newborn, I guess.
That
Very
would make
curious.
more sense. Due to certain circumstances, I'm afraid that your questions have no real relevance to me. More like the me as I am now have no way of answering your questions. My apologies on that. Well, let's just say that I've lived 2 lives. And I'll leave it at that for the moment.
She looks a little uncomfortable with the conversation. She looks like she's trying to be honest, but she's obviously hiding something.
Yeah. Well, I don't mean to push, so I won't pry anymore. Just very curious. I've only met a few.
She gives a obvious sigh of relief.
Oh, yes, no, that's fine. I've only met a couple Bastion units myself, to be honest. A curious bunch. But, regardless, I would love to talk.
As she says that, you hear a voice come from, like, pretty much behind her, somewhere, in the hut where you can't actually see. Who in the hell are you talking to? Better not be... Listen, you damned demon. If you start telling people information like you were before, you know what Galdrin is going to do to you, don't you? Immediately upon that being said, the woman just, like, pretty much almost shuts down. What she, like, her face goes, like, impassive, and her entire demeanor, which seemed sort of, like, welcoming and warm for the most part, immediately goes cold and standoffish.
Of course, my apologies. I did not mean to. I won't do it again.
Seriously, Leone, I don't know why in the world Galdrin keeps you around. You see this being sort of, like, hobble into view. The skin looks sort of like this, like, mottled gray color, and the person is, like, kind of, like, hunchbacked over, but it's, like, the size of, like, a halfling or dwarf, so, like, they're hunchbacked over to the size of, like, a gnome, pretty much. And due to, like, this, like, large cowl. You can't really make anything out of the body themselves. In fact, they're also accompanied by like very flowing robes, so you can't really make out any sort of body shape except for the hunch. They do have like a cane that they're using in order to walk, though.
Oh, I do apologize. I don't mean to pry. I just was curious. The name is Bastion, by the way.
Another one of you damned robots? I thought the stupid ice brain was bad enough, but now another one of you have appeared. What are you doing here?
Like I said, I am accompanying the Wolf Princess.
Listen. Have you asked the questions that you need to? I need my beauty sleep, and you're not helping with your yammering. If you wish to talk to the stupid bitch, then please leave with her. Leone, you're worthless here anyways. If you wish to talk to the dumb robot, then take it away, and don't bother me anymore.
Of course, Sailor. My apologies. I'll do so immediately.
You see Leone give a bow towards Zayla, apparently. And then she leaves the building, looking completely impassive. She's not looking to see if you're following either. She just leaves.
Yeah. Actually, I understand you need your beauty sleep. I had just a single question, if you might humor me.
Oh, my goodness. You and the Bastion units with your incessant questioning. One question. If you ask another one, I'm going to melt you into scrap.
It would be an honor. But, might I have your, I was gonna say name, but she just said her name, didn't she? Whoops. One question. If you don't mind me asking, what exactly is your... this is a bit intrusive. What exactly is your, title here? You seem to be well off. I'm just curious. Children, you know?
You see Zayla kind of like hobble towards you and like look up at you, and as they look up at you, the cowl sort of like reveals a bit of the face, and you see this like bulbous nose with like a wart directly on it, and the like one eye being larger than the other, and it's like pure black, and this scar that goes down like the right side of the face across the lips that sort of like partially mutilates it, and sort of because of it healing naturally, like causes the lips as well as part of the cheek to like kind of warp into this kind of like malformed look. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. She looks ugly as fuck. You don't know who we are, do you?
Not a clue.
Of course, these ignorant buffoons wouldn't know of the 13 Knights. That dumb bitch over there is Leone. Leone the Witch. One of the 13 Knights following Galdrin, the Hero King. Do you know him, at least?
I believe I've heard the name before.
I'm their lead alchemist, Zayla. Zayla the Demon. I craft medicines, poisons, other things like that. Due to reasons, we're here. That's all the information that I can give you. If you wish to know more, well, why don't you willingly become an experimental subject and maybe you'll find out.
Well, that does sound appealing, but I'm sorry, I will have to decline. I have other duties I am attending to in the city.
I could always melt those duties into nothing. Just force you to be a... never mind, you're not worth it. Just another hunk of metal. Get out of here, go, you've asked your question. Leave.
Bastion waves and then turns around and leaves.
At this point in time, Leone has pretty much left. You see no sight of her anywhere, though, as you might imagine, you could probably easily find her using the compass.
Yep. I want to do so.
It seems like as if she sort of made her way to where the majority of the festivities are taking place, which, mind you, Bon, nothing really happens at the festivities unless you make it happen so. Pretty much there's just food, drink, dancing, talking, things like that. Due to Rakim literally telling you guys to have fun with the festivities, the villagers seem a little wary of you, but they're more than willing to talk to you should you wish to talk to them.
Sorry, I had to send that to you real quick.
Yeah, I kind of figured that would probably be the case, but since you didn't say it, I just wanted to let you...
Oh,
have that
I was
choice.
letting Bastion have his go.
Yeah, okay. So...
Things have been offered. Bon
Yes.
Bon
things-
takes advantage, and we shall see how this goes.
Yeah, okay, so... During the time in which Bastion has been gone, you pretty much were told to enjoy the festivities. A lot of people aren't really, like, willfully approaching you, but some of them work up the nerves and are just like, haha, might as well, you know, Rakim invited them to the party, so, you know, party we shall, kind of thing. And they start, like, offering you food and drinks and stuff like that, and of course, one of them is just like, come drink with us, and, like, hands you, like, a mug of a drink. And it's just like, some of our strongest stuff, Dragon's Breath. Try it! You'll love it.
Oh, joy.
Oh no.
It isn't a party without alcohol. Go! Drink with us.
Yep,
And-
looks about right.
You drink. And at first you're just like, well, I really shouldn't, but, I mean, you know, you're offering, and I've been told not to throw away kindness, and so you finally just, like, you kind of, like, trying to convince yourself not to, while also convincing yourself, like, oh, it's fine, they're offering, and you take the drink, and you drink, you, like, take a sip of it, and it burns, like, all the way down, but there's, like, this refreshing, like, strangely, like, almost, like, cinnamon aftertaste sort of thing that kind of, like, burns even more, but it tastes fantastic. And you take another sip, and you're just like, oh, it won't matter. And then every single time you take a sip, slowly you're taking more and more of a drink until, like, you're pretty much downing the entire mug at this point in time and asking for seconds. And, like, within, like, 3 mugs of this thing, you're pretty much completely wasted, and you're just having fun with the rest of them. Bastion, you come back to find Bon inebriated out of his freaking mind in the short time that you've been gone. And he's pretty much just guzzling down, like, two-handed guzzling down alcohol and eating food, like, all at the same time. And the villagers seem to be having an absolute blast with him.
Bon has somehow gotten himself into a drinking contest.
Yes.
Oh.
You do see... you do see, Leone is sort of, like, on the sidelines watching over everything. The kind of standoffish demeanor has somewhat faded away, and she seems more melancholic at this point in time rather than standoffish. She looks a little on the sad side, but she's sort of watching over everything, just trying to, I guess, like, soak in the atmosphere sort of thing, being close enough but not in the middle of it. Kari is looking at Bon with an incredulous look of, like, this is not how I thought that this man would act sort of look. and is just kind of like nibbling at food and like slowly sipping some sort of drink that you don't know what it is. And in the middle of all this, you suddenly hear 3, 2, 1, and then you see freaking this enormous mug that is probably big enough for like something far bigger than a normal man to hold, is like two-handed lifted up by two different people, one by Bon and another by what looks like might be a Goliath, and they're just chugging down this drink. And the crowd is just like cheering and cheering on. Bon, I want you to roll me a Constitution save for this. You and this Goliath are chugging this down, and it takes probably about a full-on minute almost of just chugging this before you're finally able to slam it down. And one of the people there is just like, Bond has completed the Giants Challenge first! Yeah! And like, they're just like, ah, yeah! And they're cheering, and they're going out of their fucking minds over this. And the Goliath looks absolutely wasted and is like kind of like hiccuping and looking like as if he's about to pass out. And the mug was not finished and was dropped to the ground. In honor of you completing the Giants Challenge, please take the mug with you, as well as this. And he hands you a belt. And I'm not going to tell you what this belt is, because I randomly decided to hand this off to you. But you now have a belt in which I will add to your items. And unless Bastion, you have something in particular that you wish to do, we probably should go ahead and end this here.
Probably for the rest of the night, I would probably walk up to, I believe you said her name is Leona, something like that.
Yeah, Leone. Yep.
And I wouldn't necessarily drill for information, because she'd probably just like throw me off, but I would like offer like food and company, just talk to her about random stuff.
Yeah, she would just kind of silently accept it. You now have a random belt amongst your items.
Okay, belted mug, got it.
Yep. I'm probably gonna regret giving this, but you know, it's fine. Anyways, but yeah,
Let's see
so
if I can find it.
I'm pretty sure I just threw it in your inventory. It should be somewhere. Oh yeah, it's called a thick leather belt.
I'm not seeing it.
Alphabetical order. It's near the very top for me, right below the bedrolls.
How's that in alphabetical order?
There it is.
Thick leather belt. Doesn't it start with a T?
Well, it says a thick leather belt. For some reason, it's like there's like it starts alphabetical order: arrows, Avengarde ID, backpack, bag of holding, bedroll, and then it goes a thick leather belt, and then it goes right back to alphabetical order again. Because then it's like boots of the Winterlands, calligraphy supplies, cloak of Elvenkind. I don't know what in the world happened there, but
For me,
yeah.
it's in right alphabetical order, but yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, so you have a thick leather belt. The belt itself has an enormous metal buckle with what looks like some sort of face on the buckle. And it's sort of handed off to you. You're like, the new champion of the Giants Challenge! And everyone just goes crazy. And the rest of the night pretty much goes like that, and Bond, you pass out and don't remember anything the next day.
Sounds about right.
And
I don't partake in any drink.
Yep, and that's where we will end it. You guys waking up the next morning. Bastion, you found somewhat of a companion in Leone. Bon, you partied so hard, your brain feels like it's about to split in half. But hey, you've got a gigantic mug, literally a giant's mug, and a strange leather belt, as well as the respect of quite a few people in this village to pay for that. So hey, plus side to everything. You got the luck of the roll on that one.
Yeah.